guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how I got into K-pop. So this may be a pretty lengthy story, so I'm just warning you right now. It was around March or April of 2013 before my life changed forever. Like literally, it actually has changed forever when you think about how you got into K-pop and when you got into K-pop. So I was on Pandora one day. I was listening to Zed's Spectrum and I was like, oh, I really like this song. I wonder what the music video is like. So then I went onto YouTube and I looked up Zed's Spectrum. I watched the music video, and you know, like after you watch a video, there's like suggestions of like where, you know, what video to pick next. And so there was like some videos on the side and I saw this video that said SM Town Spectrum Performance and I was like, ooh, I wonder what that is. For some reason I was just like really drawn to it and I clicked it. So I clicked the video and that is like what changed everything. That's what got me to K-pop. I remember it started off with SHINee's Taemin and I was like, oh my gosh, like he's such a good dancer. And then it went off to Lay and Kai of EXO and immediately I was like hooked on both Lay and Kai, especially Lay. Like my eyes were just like so focused on Lay, and that's kind of how he became my first bias ever. And then later on I watched like the rest of the performance, and by the time it got to the very end of the Spectrum performance that they were doing, that's when they actually sang Spectrum but in Korean. And when it got to that, I was like, oh yeah, that's why I clicked the video in the first place. I cannot tell you how many times I have replayed that video over and over and over again throughout like that first week of just finding the video. I watched it so many times. This is where like, this was like the part of my life where I started to just like close the door and just like be in my room. You know, like I like never did that. I like never closed the door. It was just like always open. And then when I got to K-pop and like K-dramas, I started to just like close the door and just watch those videos or watch the K-dramas because I just, you know, I didn't want to be interrupted or anything. And like no one knew that I liked K-pop at the time. What caught my attention with the Spectrum performance was the choreography. It's always the choreography that just gets me into, that had gotten me into K-pop. I had come across Boa in like, I think it was the end of 2012, and I watched her video, I'll Eat You Up. And I loved that song so much. I watched it I've seen that music video so many times. I tried learning the dance, and at the time there weren't any good dance tutorials out for me to like learn from. So it was really difficult to learn the dance, so I just never learned it. I was like, oh, I really like this song. I've been listening to it for a while now. How about I go ahead and check out some of her other music? And I think the song that I clicked was Copy and Paste. And so I was watching the video and then, you know, she started singing. I was like, oh, like what language is this? I don't know what language it is. It sounds nice, but I'm not really interested in the song because it's, you know, it's in a language I didn't understand. And that's like, I just want to slap myself in the face just like thinking about that I actually thought that, you know? Yeah, and then I think later on that year, like Psy came out with Oppa Gangnam Style, and so that became a big thing. I remember being in the car with my sister and the song came on and I was like, okay, like I was thinking like this is different. I don't know what he's saying, but it's catchy. I kind of like it. And then we just like changed the station because, you know, we didn't know what he was saying. So again, another slap across the face to me. And so yeah, I remember like people would dress up. There were like 2 people in my school who had dressed up as Psy for Halloween. And the whole entire time I was like, who are they supposed to be? And then later on, you know, it was like maybe that following year, like 2013, I was like, okay, like I listened to Oppa Gangnam Style. I think it was around January or February, probably January 2013. That's when Girls' Generation's I Got a Boy was like a big, I mean, Girls' Generation is always a big thing, you know, but I remember going onto YouTube and I'd just be like scrolling down on my phone, and every single day that week, Girls' Generation I Got a Boy was just on there, like on the very front of YouTube. When I just like logged in, it was right there. And so I was probably like halfway throughout the week, I was like, okay, what is this? Why does it keep popping up on my feed? And so I was kind of curious. I was like, okay, like it keeps popping up on my feed. I just need to watch it and then maybe it'll go away. So I watched it and it was very bright and pretty and girly, and the song was catchy. I thought it was cool. I thought it was cute. I thought it was different and I liked it. But what strikes me as so strange is that I just exited out of the video after it was done, and I just went about, you know, like going to another video. I watched a different video instead. The thing that's so weird to me is that I didn't look at any of like the other videos that they had. I didn't even scroll down and look at the thumbnails or anything. That's what's weird to me, because I always do that after watching a video. I scroll down and see like what other videos they had, whether I check it out or not. And so that's like so weird, you know? So yeah, March, April, that rolls around. I find out about this SM Town Spectrum performance. I honestly thought that SM Town was a boy group. It's so dumb to me now, like thinking that way. Like, how did I even think that? I thought they were a boy group. You know, they were so good at dancing. I thought they were all in this one group and they were just like incredible dancers and singers. And then later on, as I scrolled down the comments, I was like, okay, who are these people, you know, especially Lay. And I found out that, you know, Lay and Kai are from EXO, and then there's like, you know, members from SHINee and from Super Junior who are also in there. And like, you know, I found out about that. And so I looked up EXO, and I remember watching like all of their teasers. I remember watching History and Mama and I think What Is Love and Angel, and like after a while, you know, there wasn't anything else to watch. There were hardly any like interviews, I think, at the time of EXO, and I didn't know what else to watch, and I was like frustrated. I was like, oh my gosh, like I need more. And then they came out with Wolf around, I think, June of 2013, and that was my first ever comeback experience that I had for a K-pop group, and I was so excited. I think the reason why I love Wolf so much, like Wolf era is and will always be my favorite era for EXO ever, even though I know everyone else hates it. I think the reason why it holds a special place in my heart is because that was my first comeback experience for a K-pop group. I remember for Wolf promotions, EXO was on, I think it's called Happy Camp. And they were on there. And so Lay started to dance this one song by G-Dragon called Michigo. I think I pronounced it correct. If not, I'm sorry. And I was like, ooh, I kind of like this song, but I was that person, you guys. I was that just like closed-minded, just wanted to be, you know, just be in that one fandom and that one fandom only. I was that person for like a little bit. It didn't last very long, but I was that person for like a little bit. So I was like, I kind of like the song, but like I don't want to branch out to other groups and stuff. I wasn't really aware of like what these other groups could do either, you know? Like I was just in this EXO bubble, and I didn't want to branch out to other groups and listen to other artists. So I did look up G-Dragon. I watched that video. I watched like One of a Kind, Crown, just like all of these other videos that he had, Heartbreaker. And then I think that's how, I don't think I found out about Big Bang until like a little bit later. And so like, you know, I watched like a few videos here and there. But I found out about a lot of like the SM groups and the SM artists first. So there was Boa I came across again, you know, I was like, oh, okay, I know who she is, and Girls' Generation. And like all the time, everything that had gotten me into K-pop without me even realizing it was K-pop was the choreography. Boa's dancing, Psy dancing, and the music was catchy. Girls' Generation, their choreography, it's, you know, their music and their music video all together. But like it's always been the dancing that has gotten me into K-pop, and it still really is. Like choreography is, to me, just like so important. It's just such a great thing. I came across SHINee and I watched One Fine Day, and I think like Taemin went to Switzerland, Key went to London, and I honestly, that was like my moment. I remember it was like the summertime. It was probably around like July or like August or something like that, and I remember watching One Fine Day, and that was my moment to like get into SHINee. I've listened to quite a few SHINee songs here and there, but I can't, like, I don't deserve to say that I am, you know, a part of their fandom, because I'm not as dedicated to them as like some fans are. So I'm more of like, I guess, a casual fan, but like I've listened to quite a few of their songs, seen quite a few of their music videos. I know all their names, and like, you know, I really do like them. But I think, you know, that was like my opportunity to really be like invested into this group. And same with like Super Junior and Girls' Generation, like a year to listen to them again from like the first time I had to listen to them. Because the thing with like the older groups is that I was aware at this point that there were so many new groups that had debuted in 2012. So I was like, oh, well, there are so many groups. And at this point I was like, multi-fandom. And so there were just like so many groups. There were so many groups that had just debuted the year before. And I was thinking, well, it'll be a lot easier for me to just like get into these new groups and learn their names and watch their videos and listen to their music and watch their interviews and become a part of their fandom, because there's less things for me to watch of theirs compared to like Super Junior, where they've been around for a while. And, you know, I would have to play catch up like a lot. I would have to spend a lot of time just like catching up on them. And so that's why for a lot of these groups like Big Bang, Super Junior, SHINee, you know, the Girls' Generation too, like it took me a while to really get into them. And the reason why I can't say that I'm like, you know, the reason why I'm not like as big on those groups, even though I do love them, and I really do love them, you guys, I do. I'm not just saying that, I really do love them. But the reason why I just didn't get into them was you know, like invest that time into getting into them was because there was just so much more that I had to watch. There were just so many more songs I had to listen to, and I wanted to be a good fan, like a really dedicated fan. So that's pretty much how I got into K-pop. That's how it all started, how I kind of started branching out into other groups. I mean, I could go on and on about different groups I've gotten into. Maybe I should. I remember getting into VIX. I remember, and I'm starting to get back into VIX again because I just listened to their recent album that they just put out and I love it so much. It's so good. I remember getting into B2B. I got into B2B around the Thriller era, and Ilhoon, I'm sorry if I'm saying his name, like if I pronounce it so weird or wrong, but Ilhoon became my bias in the group. I'm not sure who's my bias in the group anymore. I'm really not sure. Hyunsik became my bias too. I had two biases. I got into GOT7 like a week or two after they did their debut in 2014. I got into BAP. Okay, so here's the thing with BAP. I noticed a lot of people mentioning BAP in like the comment section of different videos I would watch. And so I decided that I would check them out and get into a new group. And I watched their video One Shot because that was the first video that popped up for me. So I watched One Shot and I was like, okay, this is nice, but it's also kind of scary. But this is also kind of, you know, Dancing Dude, that's kind of catchy and cute and it's a good song. But in the end, I was like, I don't think this is the group for me. For some reason, you know, I had been into K-pop for like a few months at that point. And I should have been, like, I was completely aware of groups doing different concepts and stuff, but for some reason, I just assumed that BAP was always going to do this, like, gangster, like, violent kind of concept. And I was like, I don't think this is the group for me. Little did I know that they would become my ultimate group. It's crazy because now they're my favorite group, like, my ultimate group. They are my ultimate group. It's for like a few months later, 2014 comes along, and I'm like, I think it's like January something, 2014, towards like the end of January, and I was like, BAP, they just popped up in my mind, and I was like, I think I'm gonna give them a second chance. And that's what I did. I looked them up, and this time I was like, I'll go with their debut video. So I watched Warrior immediately. Like, I fell in love with BAP. They were all blonde, of course. Every single one of them was blonde. Zello I could easily pick out because he had curly blonde hair. Jungkook, his voice was really deep. Himchan, I could tell who he was because of his voice also. Jungkook, Youngjae, and Daehyun, I would get mixed up for quite a while. And then I finally figured out who was who. But I remember just like binging on all of their videos, and like I came across this, I think it was the Live on Earth, like, or Pacific Tour or something, and there was like this documentary thing on it, and I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, like if like I'm only like a year late to the concert. You know, I could have gone or something if I knew about K-pop ahead of time or like back then. And so I remember telling myself, I was like, I swear, if they have another concert and it's like in LA, I'm going to go to it. I think like a week or two later, that's when the teaser for Angel, and that's when the music video for Angel came out. And then after that, they ended up releasing that they're going to go on a tour. So I was like, okay, like I have to go to the tour now. So I watched like all their music videos, watched all their interviews. I binged on like every single video, and I wasn't in school at the time. So I had like all the time in the world to just really get into this group. And yeah, I went to the concert. That concert was my first concert experience ever. I think I'll eventually get into that concert experience, my first ever concert experience, and maybe last year's experience too, because last year was just a completely different experience of going to their concert. So I think maybe I'll like eventually make this kind of videos. But as for now, this was my video on how I got into K-pop. It's really interesting how everyone comes across K-pop and how it just becomes a part of their lives and how it changes them. I mean, I have a YouTube channel now kind of based around K-pop, and it's so crazy just like how it's changed, you know, my life, your life, like everyone's life. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, see ya!